thank you for the invitation. First of all, sorry for my voice, which is not at its best today, but anyhow. And so I've prepared this talk together with Marco Piastra from University of Pavia, who is the expert in artificial intelligence. So what we're going to talk about today is how what we call the odd couple, that is psychology and artificial intelligence, can work to promote healthy and sustainable dietary choices. And we do so by developing communication strategies that support people in their changing dietary habits. So we have been worked with this method for several years now, and we have taken into account different kinds of dietary choices. For instance, we started with studying how we can promote the reduction in the consumption of red meat. But at the same time, we have also studied how to promote the consumption of plant-based meat or other kind of novel foods. Also, in other studies, we have been working on the how communication can promote the consumption, for instance, of pulses or sustainable fish choice, purchase, and consumption, which is not easy. And also we have been studying some more general topics, such as the promotion of Mediterranean diet or the promotion of local food purchase. And also an issue we are studying, and we were talking about this this morning, is how to promote healthy and especially the practices and consumers' practices about food safety. And we have been working on this just in these latest months. So we start from three basic assumptions, I would say. The first one is that effective promotion of healthy food choices is crucial for health and for environmental policies. The second one is that personalized communication is especially effective in promoting change towards healthy food choices. And here the stress is on personalized. And the third one is that implementing personalized communication on a large scale is possible and is advisable. And here is where the odd couple is about. Because on the one hand, social psychology can provide models for how we can engage different people by tailoring interactions to their drivers and their stage of change, because this is an additional difficulty we have. And on the other hand, artificial intelligence can provide the ability to translate social psychological models into effective automata that can greatly expand the scope of our interactions. So, starting from the social psychological models, I would say that there are of three main types. First of all, we have models regarding profiling people, that is, understanding the psychological drivers of each of us. Secondly, we have models regarding framing, that is, how to really select the communication and the right communication key. And third, and perhaps most importantly, we have models regarding tailoring. That is, how to adapt communication to the individual first and to their stage of change, which is also very important. So starting from profiling, obviously we have, first of all, to understand the driving forces of change in each of us. And they are very different. They include cognition, emotions, personality, motivations people may have, social norms, that is what other people say. And what is also relevant is that the weight of these different dimensions is not the same for each of us. For some of us, for instance, social norms may count more, for others emotions, and so on. And here you can see an example of, I would say, a famous model which summarizes, psychological models, which summarizes some of these factors, and it is the theory, the model based on the theory of planned behavior, which includes the idea that obviously we have several behavior-related antecedents of our intentions. In all the models I will show you, you will see the name of the dimension and an example of how you can measure the dimension of the items we use to measure these dimensions. Here you see the basics of the theory of planned behavior: attitude, social norm, self-efficacy, how much I feel I can be able to implement a given action, and also the expanded theory of planned behavior, which includes anticipated emotions, what I expect from what I will do, which is very important too. So this is a first model regarding profiling. But then, obviously, we have framing. Framing means that we have to choose the right way to talk with people, and obviously we can count on these factors. That is, when we frame message, we may focus again on cognition, on social norms, motivations, and so on. For instance, if I say something, more and more people are giving up meat choices and eating more plant-based food. More and more people. I am making reference to a what we call a dynamic norm. That is, it's not still a norm yet, but it is becoming something that more and more people are doing. So this way is a way, obviously, of counting on social norm to communicate with people. And I'll show you very briefly some other examples of this kind of framing we have been studying in these studies over these years. Well, this is perhaps the most famous one because it refers to the prospect theory developed by Tversky and Kahneman. So the idea that obviously you can either focus on gains or losses that come from what you do. And we can obviously use it also in this course when we talk with people. So I can focus on gain, you will derive from eating healthy, or losses. Obviously, I'm saying the same thing, but with a different framing. But there are other interesting interesting ways to frame messages. For instance, I can talk with people and focus on the fact that if you eat little red and processed meat, you will protect your health from colon cancer. I'm focusing on health, but I can say the same thing by focusing on environment, for instance. You will protect the environment from the release of harmful greenhouse gases. So in this case, it is a more informational framing. And also, I can, for instance, focus on how to get to the goal you want to have. And for instance, saying you can quickly recognize sustainable caught fish products by the sustainable fisheries labels, and so on. So giving suggestions. Still, another way can be focusing on the goal. For instance, here you can see in red, and this is interesting, we did that for the plant-based meat. You can tell people you can add this meat to your diet, or you can tell them you can replace meat with plant-based meat. And it is something which is very different for people. And we want to assess the effect of this. So we had other messages, but now I want to show you how can we somehow detect which message is more effective. And here we have other psychological theories which help us a lot, especially the elaboration likelihood model and other emotion theories and so on. What happens is, when I listen to a message, my reaction will be first emotional reaction, which may be, as you can see there in the second column, either positive or negative, for instance, calm or rage or fear and so on. And these emotions can induce me either to be involved in the message, but especially either to process the message in a superficial or in a deep way. Why is this important? It is very important because if you engage in a deep processing, then you are more likely to then behave accordingly and then to change your intention accordingly. So this is very important. And then we have the crucial step, which is tailoring. We are all different, so we have to find the right message for the person. But even more, the same person can go through different stages of change. That is, I can start to think, well, maybe I should eat less meat, but no, I want to eat less meat, I want to make different choices, and so on. And, you know, we can go through different stages of change, and for each of these stages, we have to find the right message. And this makes things even more complicated. Okay, so how is it possible to do that? Okay, now the model has become quite complicated, and you can see on the left an example of an individual difference variable. In this case, it is the so-called regulatory focus variable, which means that some of us are more inclined to do things because they want to reach a goal, for instance, ideal health or well-being, while some others are more inclined to do things because they want to be on the safe side and safeguard the health and so on. So these are individual differences. Well, okay, we have to put them in the model and to see how they influence the perception of the message and all the rest that we have already seen. So as you can see, the framework has become quite complicated. And this is where we need some more complicated way, maybe, to measure these things. So how can we test these models? At first, from the point of view of psychological models, statistics, and so on, we use, together with Marco Piastra, which is also, as I mentioned, the author of this presentation, we developed an app which is simply a way to, test these different messages, see their effects, and then have data. But then what happens then is that artificial intelligence comes into play, and this is very important because it is a way, through these models, to put together the three different approaches we have: profiling, framing, and tailoring, because now we can profile people with a minimum of questions, and we can select the most promising interaction modality. How can we do that, and how can they do that? I would say here you see an example of the kind of structural causal model we use, but again, the kind of the variable we see are the same we talked about, because here you can see the variables coming from the profiling the persons. So obviously we have the socio-demographic features, but also those psychological features like promotion, prevention, and the rest. Here you can see the message we are sending to people, and here you can see the kind of emotion, the reactions people have once they have read the messages. And at the end of all this, we have this crucial feature, which is intention change. After listening to the messages, processing the messages, is there an intention change, and in which direction? And obviously we can have the utility of the message if the message gets to the aim we wanted. So we have this kind of model which calculates the utility based only on the kind of variables we collect at time one, and so we can make this kind of prevision. And then there is a further step. Well, first of all, this kind of structural causal models are very useful for us for many reasons, three main reasons. One is clear, as I showed the model to you. I mean, they're very useful for representing what we are doing, so having an idea, visualization of what happens. Second, through meta-analysis and through the characteristics of structural causal models, we can transfer part of the models across different studies. And so we have worked, as I mentioned, with different kind of diet habits and so on. And third, and very important, we can also correct unfair biases if they are there. A further step has to do with how the structural causal model can be employed as a sort of a simulator of the interlocutor. And this happens to the deep reinforcement learning approach. In this case, the deep neural network becomes, interacts with the interlocutor and can choose the right message to send. You see that in green. Now, for instance, this is the valence framing, gain, no loss, and so on. The green ones are the best messages I'm expected. They can be successful in getting to the aim we want. And sorry for my explanation of this. Technical things for me is not so easy. So, what is the output of all this? Well, we can generate a sort of general dialogue managers that, in a sense, they have, through the deep reinforcement learning, we can create a sort of optimized and, most importantly, as I mentioned at the beginning, personalized strategy and interaction policies that is more likely to be successful, a successful policy. And also, this personalized policy can be translated into interaction policies that act as back-end drivers. At the same time, the back-end drivers can be integrated with virtually any kind of human-computer interface, an LLM chatbot, but what counts here is that it is a personalized and proactive chatbot. So to conclude, what is the aim, the goal of all this? I said that at the beginning, is to be able to accompany change with psychological sound communication and artificial intelligence. So to be able to explore motivations and needs of our interlocutors, but also formulate coherent message. And in the end, what I like to call it as generate a sort of a happy communication, that is a communication which is really in agreement with receiver needs and resources, and which should help people and support people when they want to change their habits, which is quite a difficult thing to do. So, thank you.